In this video, I am going to show you some helpful repair hacks to fix the most common problems which you are likely to face when you're out riding your bike so that you can get home safely rather than being stuck at the roadside. Before we dive into these hacks, if you haven't seen our essential road bike maintenance book at shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com, I'd suggest heading there and taking a look. The book has got loads of helpful tips and guides to help you along on your maintenance journey. Anyway, today I'm actually going to demo all of the hacks that I'm discussing to prove that they are actually possible out on the roadside. And the first thing we're going to take a look at is how to deal with a snapped rear derailleur cable. So, first thing you need to do is assess where on earth the cable was actually broken between the derailleur and the shifter. Now, provided that there's at least a couple of inches worth of cable between the shifter, which has got the little domed end on the cable, and where the brake is, you should be able to do this hack. You're going to need to have a multi-tool that has got a hex wrench on it, small enough to undo the little pinch bolt on your derailleur cable. Then what you're going to need to do is remove the rest of the cable from the bike, get the domed end of the cable, place it through the barrel adjuster, and you can secure the cable in place using the little pinch bolt. That way you can manually push the derailleur into place. You can then fine tune the position of the derailleur using the barrel adjuster. Any leftover cable can be wrapped up neat and tidy to make sure you keep it out of the spokes. If you have electronic shifting and find yourself with no battery power left, first thing to do, hang your head in shame for not charging it up. Second thing you need to do, set a reminder in your phone so that you don't forget to charge your gears up next time. Now, in order to fix this problem, you have kind of got to have somebody nearby that's got the same gear setup. For Shimano gears, you can simply put the two rear derailleurs close together and swap the cables from one bike that's got battery power onto the other bike that's flat, and then you can shift into the gear to get you home, unplug the cables and put it all back together. Then you'll be in one gear that you can ride all the way back. If you're fortunate enough to have SRAM gears and you've got a front derailleur on your bike, you can switch the batteries front and rear, or you can just find someone with a SRAM rear derailleur, pinch the battery off their bike for a minute, shift into the gear that you want, and then you can give them their battery back. So there's some solutions to fix both mechanical and electronic shifting gear issues. The most common problem people are going to face out on the road is a puncture. It could be that you maybe don't have a spare inner tube, or you haven't got any puncture repair patch with you, or perhaps, worst case scenario, you've got a big hole in the side of your tyre. Now, these things can be an absolute nightmare, but fear not, because there is a solution, and it's in my pocket. Here it is. I'm gonna have to eat it first. Save the wrapper. So much energy. You found yourself with a puncture and with minimal spares. So if you've got a hole in the tyre and you do have an inner tube, that's an easy fix. What we'll do, I'll show you in a second, you can just put that wrapper inside. But if you haven't got a spare inner tube and any way of fixing the punctured inner tube, then you're gonna have to do the following things. Remove the tyre, take the inner tube out, and then you can tie a knot into the inner tube over the puncture site, and then place it all back in together and pop it back up. Let's do it now. Once you've managed to wrestle your inner tube back in, that's now got a knot over the puncture site, and if you had any damage to the tyre, place your energy bar or gel wrapper correctly in the right place. It doesn't have to be SAS branded. You can just then pump your tyre up. Now, I'm going to use my mini pump, even though quite literally just over there out of sight, there's a track pump. That's how dedicated I am to this. No rush, take my time. That was 50. Ah, a few more. Next hack is to do with braking. Now, if you're unfortunate enough to have snapped a rear brake cable, be that rim brake or disc brake, unfortunately there isn't really much you can do about that. But seeing as it's your front brake, which does most of the stopping power when you're riding, it isn't really a big deal. If, however, you snap the front brake cable and the rear one is okay, it's not really safe to ride with just a back brake. So what we can do is take the rear brake cable off of the bike and install it through to the front one. That way you can get to the bike shop or get home safely, and then you can fix it. It's kind of like the similar principle as what we're doing at the back by using different cables that aren't intended to be used. So what we're going to do is remove that cable, install it at the front. Let's do it now. So a couple of super quick points to make. Now the reason you can only use the rear brake cable onto the front and not vice versa is purely down to the difference in length. The front one just isn't long enough to reach all the way to the back. Now it's important to note that as you are trying to take the cables apart to reuse them, you need to do your absolute best not to get the ends of the cables to fray, because we need to feed them back through the bike. Now these have frayed ever so slightly, but I think we should be able to carefully feed them back through and use this rear one on the front. So back to it. It might not be pretty, but it works. This broken cable can get in the bin, quite literally. There is actually a bin just over my shoulder. Almost. I'm going to put it in the bin though. Continuing on with some hacks about brakes, well, in a similar principle to how we've used the rear brake cable on the front brake, now we can also do the same thing with the brake pads. So if you find that the front brake pads have worn out and the rear ones are still in okay shape, which is likely to be the case because, as I said, the front does most of the braking, almost 9 times out of 10 you can just switch them around. So what we're going to do now is whip the pads out of the back, put them into the front. Ironically, this bike has actually got a little bolt-through pad retainer on the back and a split pin on the front, you know, just to make my life slightly more difficult. But hey, I guess it proves what's possible. These are the brake pads out of the rear. I'm now going to put them into the front. We quite literally make the rules up around here. That way around? Yeah, oh, they got left and right rail on them. Okay, so those are some of my favourite roadside hacks, demoed and shown to be effective and relatively simple to do to get you out of trouble. But it is really important, I want to stress this, that no hack should be done if it feels like it's going to sacrifice safety or you don't feel confident that riding your bike is going to be okay to do so. So if you end up with a problem that you don't feel you can resolve at the roadside, then you are going to have to call for help or get a taxi home. But the cool thing about roadside hacks are that you can evolve them and develop your own. But as I said, never at the cost of safety. So that pretty much wraps up this video. So if you do have any additional hacks of your own, please do put them in the comments section down below to share with not only me, but also everybody else as well. And if you enjoyed this video and want to help support what we do, like it and subscribe to GCNTech and turn on your notifications. Right, I am gonna have to now try and make it home with a temporarily fixed rear derailleur, an inner tube in the front with a knot in it, a bar wrapper in my front tyre, no working rear brake, a front brake with a brake cable from the rear brake, and the brake pads from the rear in the front. Wish me luck. See ya.